People are still discovering the fact that Keisha Ervin and Color Me Pink are the same person, right? And I wanted so badly, okay, to sign to Triple Crown.
Thank God you didn't.
Okay.
As far as payment stopped coming, yeah. And so literally,
you talking about the Carl Weber who's moving on BT?
Yeah, he's a crook too.
Oh Jesus!
He ain't paid no question. I told you to come with it. Go ahead on. Ain't nobody ever asked me that question. So I was always fast. Is because I signed a janky deal with a crook. So I go in debt to only bringing in $2,000. Well, maybe if you wrote more like Ashley and Jaquavis. I could be so good to you. 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 What's up, besties? It's your girl Sheridan S. Davis, and welcome to another episode of the Good Girl Rich Life podcast. Listen, I'm so excited about everything that has been happening. If you are not, follow us on IG at Good Girl Rich Life, and definitely follow us on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify and YouTube. Y'all, the Good Girl Rich Life podcast is doing the dang old thing, and I'm so excited. Church announcement: my book Church Girls 5 is available on Amazon. Check out the full series if you have not, and definitely check out the book Church Girls 5. And please leave a review. Y'all are reading the books and telling me how y'all like them, but I need y'all to leave a review on Amazon, okay? I never really thought I would bring this book back or the series back for a fifth book, but here we are, okay? This is not your grandma's book, though, and I did want to let you know that although it has the word church in it, it's giving TVMA for nudity and language. So speaking of books, my guest is one of the few inspirations behind my pen. I don't have a lot of friends, but this is one person I have definitely given that title to. From bouncing ideas off one another, laughing about celebrity tea, and prayers that ascend to the heavens, my guest and I have developed a friendship that I truly cherish. She is an Essence best-selling author, Amazon too. Her pen game is astonishing. Her fashion sense is amazing. She's a YouTuber with almost 100,000 subscribers, y'all. So go subscribe to her channel. She's a reality TV enthusiast with hilarious reviews and a true six-figure chick. I'm believing she's going to 7 soon. But outside of all of that, she is a dedicated daughter who is taking care of her parents, a mother, a friend, and honestly, a good person, which is why I admire her the most. When I think of her life and career, the word audacity comes to mind. She has the audacity to believe in herself, the audacity to believe in and exhibit her gifts, and the audacity to trust God through it all. Whether dealing with illness, parents, whatever, my friend has continued to maintain the audacity to know that she has what it takes to muscle through. And that is why she has the resistance, results, and respect that she has today. Without further delay, I bring to the pulpit Keisha Ervin in her own words. Hey, friend. Hi. Well, that was beautiful. Like she's talking about me.
I can't. Of course, I'm talking about you. How are you today? How are you? How's your spirit?
Blessed and highly favored. It's so fun to be back on camera with you.
I know it has been a long time. So for those who have been asking about the tea party, this ain't that, but at least we're back together.
We're going to bring back the tea party. I was thinking about that earlier this morning. We'll talk about that later.
Uh-oh.
I think we can do our like Beverly Carlos type thing. You do it on your channel. I do it on mine. We both making money.
Let's do it. I love the fact that we are friends. We're both bosses and we could both get it together. Okay. So let's talk about your story. For me, you guys, I want you to establish the intent here. Y'all, Keisha has done several interviews, but I want to get in there, okay? She has asked me to talk about just to get into her story and her life. So I'm putting on my good Diane Sawyer, my with a cross of Wendy Williams. What's the lady name? She died from The View.
Oh, Barbara Walters.
Barbara Walters. And that's Cardone's in there too. Amen. Because I'm plus size. So we're going to get into Keisha. Get into her life and her story. Okay. So, Keisha, I want to start with this interview by saying to the fans, yes, you guys, this is that Keisha. People are still discovering the fact that Keisha Ervin and Color Me Pink are the same person. So Keisha, I want to ask you, how did you get into the world of entertainment?
Entertainment? Just overall?
Yeah, because we started out knowing you as an author. You're also a YouTuber. So how did you first get in the door?
Well, I've been a writer of some sort ever since I was a little girl. I won a lot of literary awards and stuff. I won the Dare Medal for anybody that was from my age.
Come on, Dare.
I won the Dare Essay when I was in the 5th grade. That's when I really kind of started noticing that I had something or another when it came to writing. When I was a little girl, I did tell my mom I wanted to be an author one time, and then I changed it. I remember I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a fashion designer, singer, dancer, actress, like everything that I ever wanted to be pretty much was in entertainment. And then I read a lot as a child as well, because my mother used to read to me every night before bed. So when I was a little girl, I was reading the Babysitter's Club and all of those types of books. And then I kind of stopped around about probably like the age of 11 all the way up until around 16, because there really wasn't any books out there that was like representative of my life. And then I remember coming home one day and my mama had The Coldest Winter Ever. She was reading it. I don't even know how she found out about it or whatever, but she had it, she read it. Then I read it and it blew me away. And I was like, dang, like it was crazy. Like then to see how winter ended up, and I was like, I don't want that to be me, because I was living that same type of lifestyle.
We don't get into it.
So I was like, oh Lord, I don't want that to be my life, but I still was out there doing whatever the hell I wanted to do. I'm gonna try not to cuss. And then after that, before that, I read Fly Girl, which was another book that changed my life. I read that in like middle school. And then, like I said, it was The Coldest Winter Ever. And then after that, I really didn't read anything too much because I was out there thotting and bopping. And then when I got pregnant with my son and I was forced to sit down somewhere, I was around 20 when I started reading again. And I literally was reading, I think it was Double XL magazine or either The Source. And in the back of those magazines back in the day, they would have like books and stuff advertised. And I saw why am I having Terry Woods for the
True to the Game.
True to the Game. I was gonna say For the Love of Money. True to the Game was in the back, and I was like, oh, I want to read this because they had the little synopsis or whatever. And I ordered it on Amazon. It came to my mother's house because I was still living with my mom at the time. I remember it came in the mail. I sat down and I read the whole book. And I want to say about maybe 5 hours or something like that. And I was like, hell, this book is good. And I was like, I can do this. And I literally just said, I can do this. But I didn't do anything yet. I started ordering more books. And that's when I got into the Triple Crown books and all of that type of stuff. Read The Hustler's Wife, read Quan's Gangsta and all of that stuff. And the more and more I was reading, I was like, I can do this. I got a bunch of stories that I can tell from my own life, from my friends' lives.
Yeah.
And I decided, I'm going to write my own book. Now I'm just going to try to submit it because Triple Crown had their website and they had a submission area where it showed you how to submit your book. And the only thing you had to do was submit the first 4 chapters, a synopsis, and a cover page. And they gave you the address and everything. And I was like, I'm going to write me a book. And so I was working at Shop and Save at that time, and I would come home from work and go down to my mother's basement. And my mother's basement was renovated into her daycare. And she had a computer like tucked off underneath the steps where she had the computer and the chair and everything like that. And I would go there, put Kyrese to sleep, and go downstairs, and I would just literally start working on what would become my first novel, me and my boyfriend. But somehow, like towards the middle of it, I got stuck and I couldn't figure out where I wanted to go with it. So I literally left it alone for about a year or so. Okay. But during that process, I had read the first couple of paragraphs to a friend of mine that I grew up with. And I remember reading her the first couple of paragraphs, and she was like, she laughed and she was like, "Girl, you need to put that up." And I remember just sitting there. And
wait, hold on. Let's pause. Because I've heard this story before. I know you shared this story before. But I want us to pause there because there are many other people who maybe it's not that they're an author, but they have a dream to do something. And they may have a family member or a friend who says, put that down, even though that might not be the words, but like, girl, that ain't it. So in that moment when she said, girl, you need to put that up, like what were your feelings?
I remember sitting there for a second and being like, my feelings were hurt. Okay. It wasn't hurt because I agreed with her or anything of that sort, because I knew my shit was good. It hurt because this was somebody that I considered my best friend at the time, and I'd known literally my whole life. And whether she liked it or not, it was like you couldn't even be supportive.
Yeah.
You know, that's what hurt me the most. And I guess I just have this thing in me where I don't even know what you would call it, but I have a tenacity of just moving forward and trying whatever. And if it don't work, it don't work. If it works, it works. But I literally, in that, it didn't even take that long. I want to say like in that snap second, I was like, fuck her. I'm going to continue doing on with what I'm going to do. Yeah. And it is what it is. And I never let her stop me or I didn't doubt myself at all. And thank God I have such a strong mind that if I was a weaker person or somebody that just listened to anything that anybody said, I wouldn't be sitting here today having this conversation with you. So I would say to anybody out there, you know what I'm saying? It's okay to take criticism. Don't get me wrong. But then you have to know criticism versus somebody just hating on you. You know what I'm saying? Because there's two totally different things. And she was a hater. We're no longer friends, haven't been friends for over 20 some years. And last I heard, she was out here walking the streets. So, yeah.
Not a streetwalker.
Not like prostituting, but like she was like literally walking the street.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So just think about it. I could have listened to somebody that was potentially mentally unstable.
Yeah.
You know, well, not potentially, was.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So thank God I didn't. And she was literally the only person that I read any of the book to. Nobody else knew. Nobody. And like I said, I set it down for like a year or so. I was reading. And I remember at some point in 2000, and it was towards I want to say like fall 2003. No, summertime of 2003, I went back and I started working on it again. I picked up and I was like, I'm going to finish this. I got to do it. I got to just try. And I finished it. And at that time, me and my boyfriend was titled Living in the City.
Not that name.
From the OJs. And this is what started my journey of all of my books either being named after a song or sometimes a movie, but most of them are titled after a song or a name of a song album. And I couldn't think of anything, and I titled it Living in the City. Living in the City. No, Living in the City from Stevie Wonder. That's where it came from. Yeah. No, it was the OJs. It was Living Just Enough for the City. Yeah, it was.
That's Stevie Wonder.
Yeah. No, the OJs. That's Living Just Enough. That's not Stevie Wonder. That's the OJs.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So I submitted it. I got a manila envelope. I finished it up. I printed it out. And I remember my mother was upstairs in the dining room. And I said, Mama, look. And she was like, what? She was doing something at the dining room table. And I said, look, I wrote a book. And she looked up at me. She said, what? And I said, I wrote a book. And she said, oh, okay. Like, she was like, what the f- are you talking about? And I was like, I'm going to send it off to this company at Triple Crown. They gave, had the submission guidelines, whatever. And I'm going to send it off to see what happened. And she was like, okay, let's see what happened. And it was literally that. Send it off. I want to say it was around October of 2003. And December 14th, 2003, I was at work at Shop and Save on the aisle.
I know the date.
Yeah, I remember that date. And my manager, Ray, white guy, he was so cool. He came rushing over to my lane and he was like, Keisha, your mom's on the phone. And she kind of sounds like, you know, worked up, shaken up. And I'm thinking something was wrong with Kyrese or whatever. And I got nervous. He was like, go ahead and take the phone. I'll finish your line up. And so that really scared me. So I went over to the customer service desk and they handed me the phone. And I was like, ma'am. And she was like, Keisha. And I said, what? And she was like, Triple Crown offering you a book deal. The heifer had opened up my first book. And I said, what? I said, for real? She was like, yeah, they offering you $5,000, $2,500 for the first book and $2,500 for the second book. And I was like, oh my God. She was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. I said, I'll look at it when I get home. And I hung up the book and I looked out the door, you know, the automated doors or whatever. And I never forget, I looked out the door and it started to snow. And I looked and it was nighttime and I sat there and looked at the door for that quick second. I said, today is the day your life is going to change.
Wow.
And literally 6 months later, me and my boyfriend was released to the world.
Wow. Okay, so me and my boyfriend, you talked about the first urban fiction books that you read. Me and my boyfriend was one of my first. My first actual urban fiction book was Fly Girl. Then after that came, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, because y'all know this was a while ago. After that was Coldest Winter Ever. Y'all ain't had no business.
Yeah, none of us.
I had no business reading these books, but soon after came Me and My Boyfriend, and in reading Me and My Boyfriend, which I got from what books, I can't remember what bookstore it was, but it was a physical bookstore in the mall. And I remember going to the mall and looking at the colored section, okay, because they had all the black books in this one little section.
They did used to do that.
Real tight in this one section, okay? And I remember seeing that book cover. I remember grabbing it. And the thing is, I don't feel like I was a popular girl like that. However, getting those books, baby, we had books in circulation. People was borrowing your books, baby. If you had a good book, you kind of bumped you up in the circle. So definitely, Me and My Boyfriend was like that for me. And that was one of the books that made me feel like I could write. And I wanted so badly, okay, to sign to Triple Crown.
Thank God you didn't.
Okay. First of all, I was too young. But I wanted so badly to sign because you were signed and some more people who books I end up liking. With that being said, okay, we're going to get into the mess. Keisha, you do not have ownership, okay, of several of your first books.
Not several, you more than that.
Right. Why is that?
I wrote 5 books with Triple Crown, including one or 2 anthology stories. I also ghost wrote on several books for other Triple Crown authors.
I know that.
But the reason why I don't promote or have ownership of those books is because I signed a janky deal with a crook, and she literally went behind my back and years ago sold my catalog to another publisher called Rubber from Urban Books, and he knew that he had no business doing it because he already knew the situation that I was under before I signed to him. And then I did 5 books with him as well, and he did the same thing as far as payment stopped coming. Yeah. And so literally,
you know, like Carl Weber, who's moving on BT.
Yeah, he's a crook too.
Oh Jesus!
He ain't paid none of us. Last royalty check I got from that man, I think it was for maybe $100.
Say what now?
Okay. Yeah, I don't promote any. I haven't promoted a Carl Weber book. It's over 12 years at this point. Like, I don't promote any of my early work. And I remember feeling like my career is over. Like, I done did all of this work. I have all of these classic books and I'm not making no money off of it. And this is, I've been talking to my son here lately a lot about timing and how everything is on God's time. And right before I signed with Urban Books, after I left Triple Crown, my longtime literary manager, Brenda Hampton, was like, Keisha, you need to self-publish. And I was like, hard-headed. And it was because I was being hard-headed and because I was scared. And because at that time, Kindle wasn't out yet. The KDP program, you had to go like through Lightning Source and other platforms. Yeah, it was CreateSpace wasn't out yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so, because remember, I did 5 books from him. So that was a couple of like some years. Yeah. So at that time, literally, it was Lightning Source. It was this publishing company named Lightning Source. And Brenda was already going through them. She was like, Keisha, I show, because she sat down one day and showed me how much money she was making. Me and her was on a book tour together. And I was looking, I was like, she was like, I'm telling you, you need to do it. But I was scared and I was being hard-headed and I was just like trying to do the easy route, trusting, because I had talked to Ashley, Antoinette, because she was signed to Urban. I was like, just trying to, find out, is this a good place to be? And she was like, I ain't never had no problems. This is that and the third. And so it helped me with making my decision to sign to him. And wrong decision. But I say all that to say, I don't regret anything that has happened in my career because it taught me a lesson with being signed to Urban Books. It taught me 2 lessons. The first one, I'll never forget. This was like during the middle of my contract with him. My first or either my second contract. It was my second contract because I remember the phone call and that was the day I was like, I'm not re-signing with him and I am going to self-publish my next work. But me, him, and Brenda were on a conference call because I wanted to know like why my money wasn't looking right. Like I was literally only getting royalty checks that added up to maybe about $2,000 and something. Now, mind you, at the height of my time when I was at Triple Crown, I was receiving royalty checks for $22,000, $27,000. And even then I was being ripped off. Let's put that into your mind frame. So I go from that to only bringing in $2,000. What the hell is going on here? And I'll never forget, we were on the phone and he said to me, well, maybe if you wrote more like Ashley and Jaquavis. Because mind you, at this point in my career, I had kind of like stepped away from the drug dealing stories, stuff like that. And I was trying new things like my characters in Material Girl and the Reckless series. Nobody sold drugs or anything like that. I really wanted to step away from that. And the books were still doing great as far as the feedback from the audience. They were selling great. And I remember saying, I was like, but I'm not Ashley and Jaquavis. I was like, so
that part.
Yeah. And I was like, and no shade to them, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but I'm not them. We're 2 totally different people. And I remember because I was in my bathroom when I was on the phone and I was like, yeah, this is a wrap. I'm not signing with nobody else. I'm going to take my career in my own hands because I'm tired of people stealing from me, tired of waiting on royalty checks. They in the mail, they ain't coming. Then when they do come, they bouncing. Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah. With Triple Crown and Urban Books. Yes, ma'am.
I think I'm so astonished because I'm just going to be frank. I expect that from others. When we start our own publishing companies and pretend like we're helping each other and going to give each other a leg up, and then we scam each other, that blows my mind. Does the fact that both of these publications that were ripping you off were Black owned, did that ever like play a part in how you were feeling? Like, were you like, dang, for real?
No, because when I signed to Triple Crown, at the time it was Vicky as the CEO and Shannon Holmes, the author. He was like the vice president, right? And I never forget, they did a little welcome call and I did a welcome call with him. And the one thing that I took out of that one conversation that I had with him is that he told me, don't trust anybody. This industry is cutthroat and it's a bunch of snakes.
Wow.
And that stuck with me. It stuck with me. It stuck with me. It stuck with me. And then, I was green. So when I first signed my first contract, I couldn't afford a lawyer. I knew that you were supposed to have a lawyer look over your contract. I knew this. I've watched so many things throughout the years on bad record deals and this, that, and the third. But here I am, 22 at the time. I couldn't afford a lawyer. I was still working at Shop and Save and was literally on public assistance. So I couldn't afford it. So literally what I did was I got the contract and I Googled literary contracts. And I tried to compare as best as possible to make the best decision. Now, the contract was not a bad contract. It was who I signed to.
Okay.
So I did a good job with looking to make sure that I didn't sign a contract, but I signed to a f***ed up person. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So.
Okay. I'm sorry. I framed my first question the way that I did as far as entertainment. How did you get into entertainment? Because I don't want people to be confused. The same Diddy's and R. Kelly's that are in the music industry are in the film industry, and the Harvey Weinsteins are in literary industry. It's just, it is terrible. So let's get into your work a bit. China Black, that character and series was loosely based on your life. Loosely is a strong word. That was kind of sort of based on your life. Okay. China was kind of fast. How did you become China?
Not she kind of fast.
How you became China friend?
Okay. So that's a good question. I told you to come with it. Go ahead on. Ain't nobody ever asked me that question. So I was always fast. Okay. I was always fast and I was always grown. I remember being maybe about 8, and me and my brother and the other neighborhood kids was outside playing. Mind you, they was older than me because they were teenagers. And there was this boy that lived next door to my grandmother. He was so fine. I think his name was Daryl or something like that. And I said, come here, I got to tell you something. And he was like, huh? And he bent down and I kissed him on his cheek. And Keon, Keon, your sister, wow, she just kissed me. And he said, what? He said, I'm telling Pat on you. He went in the house and told my grandmother and I got a whooping. So yeah, I was doing little like that at 8.
I was always fast.
But my parents, well, not my parents, but my mother trusted me a lot. So me and my brother are 4 years apart. And so I was the quote unquote good one, the smart one who did well in school. I really didn't give her any problems until I got in high school. So I was able to get away with it a lot and go under the radar or lie my way out of stuff. Like when people call me a liar, it cracks me up because I'll be like, if I do lie, you will never know if I'm lying to you. I'm that good of a liar. When I'm telling the truth, I'm laughing my ass off. That's when I'm telling the truth. Is when I'm laughing because I'll be like, you don't believe me and I'm telling the truth. But I was a great liar growing up. Like I would lie my ass off, lie to the point where if I'm arguing with you about something, I'll make you be like, I'm sorry. Knowing that I was the predator in this situation.
Keisha Ervin, that was crazy.
Oh yeah. I learned how to argue. I will argue you down to the point where you will be like, you know what, my bad. And I learned manipulation at a young age. And it started when I was in junior high school. And I've realized the way that a woman can seduce a man without even having to do much. And literally, I'm 13 years old in junior high, and I would have little male friends that I knew liked me. And I would make them think that I liked them too, and flirt with them a little bit, or just bat my eyes, or just give them any type of attention and get stuff out of them. So at that age, I was getting boys to get my nails done, get my hair done. And my mama would be like, how is you going to get this stuff done? And I'll make up some type of lie, like Losha paid for my best friend or something like that all the time. it was some little boy that I was talking to at school. And I realized that you can get a lot out of a person and you ain't even got to have sex with them or kiss them. And that's how I started using dudes at like the age of 14. So by the time I got in high school, and we were just living fast. Like me and my friends lived a very fast life at a young age. Mind you, it's the 90s, and we were catching the bus going to the mall alone at the age of 10. It was a different time then.
Yeah.
And our parents trusted us. Like we literally were 11, 12 years old, walking around neighborhoods and stuff at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. We just had that type of
wow.
Yeah, we had that type of freedom. We catching the bus going places. Like it was a different time, and our parents trusted us. You know what I'm saying? But they trusted us a little bit too much.
That was about to be my next question. Do you think your parents trusted you too much? And from your upbringing, like, what did you want to do differently when you became a parent? Because you were given all that freedom.
Being way more hands-on, and being closer to my children. Whereas me and my mother were like this when I was a little girl. By the time I was like 10, 12, 10, 11 or whatever, that's when I started, pulling away, or either she started pulling away. I don't know. I'm getting older, she, whatever. But I was a loner. Because mind you, my brother would live with us for spurts, and then he'd go whatever. So it'd just be me and my mother in the house. So I would be in my room, she would be in her room. We didn't have mother-daughter days and stuff like that. We didn't do stuff like that. Like all of that stuff kind of like stopped the older I was getting. I don't know if it's because she was working a lot. I don't know. But like we didn't have those types of moments. And it was like the older that I got, the more I started to see my mother differently. You know what I'm saying? Like she would give me and my brother got child support every month from my daddy. And it wasn't, okay, let me go get Keisha clothes. I don't know what she was doing with the money. You know what I'm saying? So literally my 6th grade year, right hand to God, she got me these pair of felines for my 6th grade year. And I wore that same pair of shoes that whole year. By the time the end of the school year was going, them shoes was talking. And I was begging my father, like, can you get me some new shoes? And he was like, no, tell your mom to get you some new shoes. Because he looking at it like, I'm giving your mama all this money every month. Why she not doing it? And so my mama would be like, I can't even remember why she was saying that she wouldn't do it or whatever. But I literally had to go my 6th grade year wearing the same pair of shoes that started literally talking by the end of the school year. And neither one of my parents would do what they were supposed to do and get me stuff. And so my brother was always very spoiled, just because he was raised by my father's mother and my grandfather. So he was spoiled. He had all the new clothes, all the new shoes, and all of those things. And he was tall and skinny and handsome. I'm short. I'm a little chubby. I was called Fat Mama. And it was kind of like I always went under the radar growing up, where I wanted to be the pretty one. I wanted people to fawn over me like they did my brother. You know what I'm saying? But I was just the little annoying little sister with a mouth on her. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what made me really idolize entertainment so much, because I wanted to be Lark Voorhees, or I wanted to be the girl on the TV and be beautiful and glamorous. And so that's what made me started, like I said, dating bad boys, tricking, getting money from dudes, because mind you, I'm not getting it from my parents. So I want to look like my friends and everything. So that's what made me be self-sufficient, because my mother and my grandmother always told me 2 things. I've only gotten from my mother and my grandmother was be self-sufficient. Don't depend on anybody. Never let no man put his hands on you. That's the only thing that they told me growing up. I never knew anything about relationships or friendships and had those intimate conversations. We didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? And that was one of the things that I changed with Kyrese. And that's why me and Kyrese are literally like this. Where we talk about everything. It literally surprises people how close we are, because they'd be like, he don't tell you everything. And I'd be like, yeah, he do. No, it like we literally, he doesn't have to fear telling me anything. And I didn't have that relationship with my parents where I could go to them and talk to them about things because I always feared getting in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Or them limiting the things that I wanted to do and go and whatever. So I kept a lot of things to myself. So yeah, that's what made me learn how to do my own hair. I started learning how to do my own hair in high school. I mean, in junior high, you know, finding out ways to, you know, put outfits together. It literally got to the point, and my friends will tell you, by the time I was in high school, when I was in the 10th grade, that's when I literally stopped really going to school on an everyday basis. And I would only go to school if I had a new outfit or a new hairstyle that I wanted to show.
Lord Jesus. But I want to pause here though, because for people who are listening, a lack of guidance, you know, everybody, I believe, is born with purpose and gifts. And you are establishing that at an early age. Even honestly, your gift of lying is honestly a gift of gab from God. But without correct guidance, that gift can be used for evil and manipulation and lying and all those other things. But with proper guidance, then look at what you've been able to do with, it's the same gift. It's just
yeah. But one thing that I'll say about that, with me lying, with me using people, it all came back on me. That's why I'm a firm believer of you reap what you sow, because just like I used people when I got in my 20s, I was used.
Yeah.
You know,
well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Give us an example. How were you used?
After I had Kyrese, I went from a size 4 to a size 16.
Wait a minute. And how long of a span?
Well, literally, when I got pregnant with Kyrese, I was size 4.
Wow.
By the time I had Kyrese, I was like a 12, 13, right?
Okay.
And this is how up your family and stuff can be. You know, you got the family members. Oh, you got big, girl.
Yeah.
I wasn't even big. I look back on my pictures, I was still skinny as hell. Still skinny as hell. And they had me thinking that I'm just out here obese. So I'm thinking that. And I'm like, well, I as well keep on eating. Because I love food. And so, mind you, I'm not going out to the clubs with my friends at that age. I'm literally in the house with my son, going to work, trying to get my GED. So only thing that I had fun to do was watch TV, watch movies, listen to music, and eat. And so I ballooned from a 13 to a 16. And you know, a lot of that was in my chest. And so I literally was single for 3 years after I had Kyrese. And I didn't have sex with anybody or anything like that. And I met this
That's one thing about you. You will go celibate.
Oh, yeah. And I met this dude named Kevin when I was working at Shop and Save, and he was like my first little thing. Like I said, since having Kyrese, and I had been out the game, and I was so self-conscious. I'm thinking like, ain't nobody gonna want you. You got a kid, you got big, and so I was literally in my head thinking like, damn, like he was fine. He had locks. He had a dope car. He was an artist. He could draw his ass off. He was well known around St. Louis. So I was like, he liked me. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And never did I think I was ugly. Don't ever get that misinterpreted. But as far as my body was concerned, I was literally having to figure out this new normal for myself. And literally, I did feel like, okay, I done got bigger. You know, dudes don't like fat girls. You know what I'm saying? So when I met him and he, you know, gave me attention, and I fell head over heels for him so fast. And before I knew it, I wanted his affection so bad that when he started to I started noticing that he was like pulling away or things was changing. I'd be like, hey, you want to go out to eat? I'm paying. His birthday coming up. I'm buying him a gift. Mind you, my birthday came. He was nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
My housewarming party. I'm telling my family about him. He didn't show up. Went MIA. But I'm begging for his time. You come see me, and sometimes he would come, sometimes he wouldn't. Yeah. But I was literally starting to be so desperate I was starting to buy his affection. Like buying him stuff. And I didn't get anything in return, girl. That nigga didn't buy me a goddamn thing. And it was so bad that I would lie to my friends and say, oh, he did such and such and such. Girl, that nigga ain't did shit.
I feel you.
He hadn't done nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And you know, that nigga broke up with me one day. Mind you, he broke up with me. No, Tashonda and my literary agent at the time came to St. Louis for the Black Expo. We had a table. And mind you, they knew all about him. And I was like, you know, y'all got to meet him. That nigga ghosted me that weekend. And it was my birthday weekend. Our birthday was literally 2 days apart. And I had got him gifts and everything. That nigga ghosted me that weekend. I was so embarrassed. So embarrassed. And when I talked to him after they left, that's when a nigga, I think, called me back finally. And I'm so dumb and just wanting to be around him. I was like, well, you know, I want to give you your gift for your birthday. I had bought him this really dope art book. Took him out to eat. Gave him his art book. He was at the table. Oh, thank you. Da-da-da. Took me back home. I dragged to be at work in like 2 hours, right? We get back to my apartment. I think Kyrie was either, he had to be like at my mama's house or something like that. We get back to my apartment. We Do you know, after we got done, that nigga sat down on that bed and was like, you know, I just think we don't need to be together no more.
You know what?
Baby, when I tell you I cried a river. And then do you know the nigga had the nerve to console me and kiss me all over my face?
You're lying.
And the third, and we had sex again, the goodbye sex. And I'm so depleted, I had to call off of work.
Girl, not you done gave him your body and you done lost your check. Jesus Christ. Double homicide, okay?
Nigga. And I still talked to him for months after that.
What?
For months after that. Still continued to talk to him. That's how desperate I had become. And I thank God that I went through all of it because it taught me humility and it taught me my lesson that you can't be going around here doing people any kind of way because it's going to come back on you. And everything that I had did to those guys that I made think that I liked them and was using them just for my own personal gain came back on me. And it came back on me even harder with the next relationship with my ex.
Okay. So speaking of stuff, humility, stuff coming on you and things like that. We have heard you, if people have been following you for a while, you have talked about your journey in the literary industry and how this story of how one day your mom hit you up wanting you to sign a book for some folks. And you was like, girl, bad, I ain't got time for that. And then life smacked you upside your head. Okay. So for those who are confused, towards the beginning of your career, you were accused, okay, of plagiarism, okay? Why do you think this person would accuse you of something like this? Like, had you read the book? Were you a fan? Why do you think that happened, and how did that affect you as an author and a person?
Well, the first part of the question, why do I think she did it? I can't answer that because I'm not her. I don't know what her mind frame was. Only thing that I can do is tell you the sequence of events and how that experience stopped me from making friends in the literary industry. And it was literally a situation where I was 25, 26 when this happened. No, I was 26. And mind you, she was older than me. So she had to been like in her, I don't even know, like her 30s or something like that at the time. But she was incarcerated.
Writing books from jail, right?
She was incarcerated, and her books were at that time good. You know, people liked them, and I was a huge fan of her work at that time. And I remember shouting because that was one of the things that we used to do back in the day. Shout each other out via our books by saying, having one of our characters reading, you know, somebody's book. And I had one of my characters, I don't know which book it was, read one of her books, and she found out about it. And she asked for my address so she could write me a letter. She wrote me a letter from jail saying she loved my work and thank you, this, that, and the third. I wrote her back. And in her book, she shouted me out, right? So we have this little small rapport. Were we friends? No. So then I wrote my book, Hold You Down. And in the book, I had a character by the name of Brittany, I believe, and Kaylin. And then I had a sex scene where they used strawberries. And this is what she based off me plagiarizing her work. Now the Brittany name, I forgot not where I got it from, but why I used it. I can't remember why I used Brittany at that time, but Kaylin in specifics, she had a character from that series by the name of Kaylin, right? I wasn't using the name Kaylin based off of her. My nephew from my sister, you know, we called each other sister, the girl Maisha that did my hair, her son name was Kaylin. And that's where I got the name Kaylin from. And the strawberry thing, girl, everybody named mama didn't use strawberries in the sex scene. Like, what the
dear future husband.
So literally, that was the only comparison. So somehow, some way, she let her fans gas her up to think that I'm plagiarizing. She read it, she agreed, and next thing I know, I woke up one day. Now let me go back to what you was talking about my mama called me. It was literally in February of that year. That was February 2007. I was in my room. I want to say it was February 13th, if I'm not mistaken. I was in my room working on something. It was like mid-afternoon night, and my mama called me and was like, "What, I want you to sign a book." And I was like, huh, like, because I got so sick of my family doing that to me, where they call me on the phone and somebody will be on the phone talking about something, "Hey, I love your books." I'll be like, what the fuck? Like, stop doing it. Or call me, "Hey, my coworker want to write a book. Can you help her?" Leave me alone. And so she called me that day asking me to sign somebody's book. And I was like, like, no, I did not want to do it. I was being a bitch. The next day, God got my ass. I woke up from a phone call from my friend at the time, Tashonda, who was also an author, and she said, "Girl, have you been on like the blogs, the Triple Crown little chat room at the time?" I was like, "No, what's going on?" She was like, "Girl, she said that you plagiarized her book." And I said, "What?" Went on there, everybody talking about it, and they literally were siding with her. It was like a few people sprinkled here and there that was like, "No, that ain't, Keisha would never do that." But like the majority of people on them blogs at that time were siding with her. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And I remember crying. And that's when I first got into reading the Bible. And I read the book of Job over and over and over and over and over again, because I literally felt like Job at that time. And I felt like everybody was just turning against me, and that I literally had nobody but God. I didn't even want to go online because everybody was talking about me. I thought that my career was over. I literally had started making plans of going to get my GED. I was going to make the plan to go to barber school and cut hair. Like, I was like just trying to think of a way to, maintain, because like I didn't have a GED, didn't graduate school. So I'm like, what am I going to do? Because I thought my career was literally over. Mind you, I already written Torn. Torn was already turned in. And at that time, I had worked 8 months on Torn. It was the longest book. It was the longest that it ever had taken me to write a book. And that was my first book that I did over 100,000 words, I want to say. And I knew that I had something special with that book. But it was like I said, this was in February. Torn didn't come out until August. So I had from February to August.
Let me tell them, like, I don't know if any of y'all who are watching has ever been dragged over the internet. And I have.
And just mind you, this ain't even the internet how it is today. This was correct. And it was still that bad.
Right. And I've heard someone say internet bullying is not real. You could just log off. You can log off, but you don't. That's just the facts. And when it's 1,000 people, okay, or even one person, to be honest, who is coming for your head in public on the internet, that is a feeling that I hope y'all don't have to feel. I have felt it twice now, and I could not imagine. I can't imagine, but I can't imagine it being on that scale. Yeah. So you looking on the internet and seeing these comments.
And mind you, she literally got out of jail during that time.
Oh, wow.
Interview. And she talked about it. And I watched that interview. I'll never forget, she had on like this cream blazer.
I remember that, but oh my God, I didn't remember that she had just got out at that time.
She had just got out. and she did an interview, and that made it even worse.
Yeah.
And what pissed me off, because I never talked about it publicly during that time, never addressed it publicly. I never said anything, because literally during this time, I'm consulting a lawyer. The lawyer looked over everything. He was like, this is not considered plagiarism. Like, what? And mind you, she's out here doing interviews, accusing me, this, that, and the third. Never, ever had a lawyer contact me or anything. Like, so it was given like, why?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But what really hurt me and pissed me off the most is that you had my number. You had my address. If you thought this, why didn't you reach out to me just like you reached out to me prior?
Yeah.
And I remember at the time having her letter and everything. It's like I was going to do a whole thing and blast her. You got to be kidding me. Mm-hmm. But I never did it, and I never said nothing. And I remember after reading Job so many times, and I said, I ain't going to get my GED. I ain't doing nothing. I'm going to show it. They when Torn come out. Torn is going to be the thing that shut them the up, because I want people to know I ain't got to copy off nobody. Okay.
Yeah.
Literally, you can't even compare our work. It's literally apples to oranges. I will write her under the table, because like, let's be for real. The writing ain't even that good, my nigga. And so I was like, I'm going to show that. Torn came out on my birthday that year. I sold over 10,000 copies in one day. It already had to go back to the printing company.
Wow. Look at God.
Torn went back to print so many times. And to this day, that is considered my Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt, or my Mary J. Blige, My Life. Because that book connected to so many women. Mm-hmm. And it was one of my best pieces of work.
Well, that's what my next question was actually about to ask. My next question was actually about to be, what do you think is your first classic as an author? Do you think it's Torn?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm very hard on my work.
Yeah.
I have readers that love Me and My Boyfriend. I hate that book. I hate it with passion. After I read it years later, I was like, what in the hell? Thank you, Jesus. But what in the girl? Woo! But Torn is literally, out of all of my books, I have only a few favorites, to be honest with you. And I've written, about 30-some books or something at this point.
Mm-hmm. What are your favorites?
Torn. Mm-hmm. Such a Lady. And You're Mine, Beast Mode, Dream 1 and 2. That's it.
Okay. Now let me ask you this, because you done talked about you writing folks under the table. What makes the Keisha Ervin brand different?
I think what makes me different, and this was a conscious decision that I made when I signed to Urban Books back in the mid 2000s, is that at that time the urban book scene was so saturated. Oh my God, everybody named Mama was writing a book. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how can I set myself apart from everybody else? And I said, you know what? I don't want young girls to think that dating drug dealers is the end all be all, because I already know how that shit end up. You're pregnant and that nigga ain't nowhere around or in jail or whatever it may be. And I wanted to prove to myself and to others that you can write a quote unquote urban story without anybody going to jail or selling drugs or being a prostitute.
Yes, because everybody thinks urban is only street lit, and that's not it.
Not it at all. And so I made the conscious decision with Material Girl that I was going to get into like my Sex in the City, Gossip Girl, funny era. And that's when I really started being funny and really getting into my fashion bag with my books. And I think that that's what separated me from the rest, is that I do funny, I do the fashion, I do quirky, I do drama, and I have my characters speak in a way that others don't, because I'm from St. Louis, so we speak totally different, and I wanted my characters to be well-traveled and going to different places and seeing different things, because I remember reading, like I said, all of these books growing up and thinking like, I want to go there one day. I want to live that type of lifestyle. Like Sex in the City literally changed my life when I was a teenager. Seeing Carrie Bradshaw, who was a writer, who lived in New York City, who lived this glamorous lifestyle. And I'm here in St. Louis thinking like, I hope I can live like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I made my dream come true. And I wanted other Black girls to know that you don't have to just stay in one space. it's a big world out there. And that's why I'm telling girls, girl, dating is fine, having a man is fine, but use your 20s, your early 30s to travel the world.
You know, I be gone.
Do things. Case in point, this bitch stay out of town every 2 weeks. I mean, going down. But you're living a life. You're seeing people will never get to see. Hell, I ain't even saying I still ain't even been out the country yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what I really wanted to show girls, and it really worked. I've had so many young ladies, older ladies saying, you know, I've read your books and it changed my life. It made me want to do this. It made me get out of a bad relationship, or whatever the case may be. And that's the most rewarding of any of, you know, the accolades or anything that I've achieved over the years.
Okay. I love that. And I agree that your books have definitely had that effect on me. And while you're talking about your mind, honey, you have y'all seen my cameo in the books? Have y'all seen my cameo in the book? Okay.
Yes,
anyway, so let's say you had to create a list. Okay. 2 lists. Top 5 author list and a top 5 urban fiction books list. What books and what authors would be on your top 5?
Whoa.
This interview gonna be a part 1 and 2 because my God, I still got more questions.
Yeah, I was like, we are our way in, and I don't even think we even scratched the surface. Well, my top 5 authors would be Takira Allen, of course, Love Belvin, Ray Lease, Ashley for the Ethics series, Ashley Antoinette for the Ethics series. Is it that I can think of?
That was 5.
Okay. No. Yeah. And I don't even want to say your work because it's gonna sound like I'm kissing your. Your work is, you already know how I feel about your work. She's a great writer. So yeah, Sheridan.
I'm weak. Okay. Let's get to the top 5. If you could pick a top 5 urban fiction books, what would you put on there? I would add that you can add series. You could say a series.
Okay. Books that stuck with me throughout the years. Can it be maybe more than 5?
Sure.
Maybe. I don't know.
You can do a bonus.
Takira Allen's is 2 of her books. Okay, the Devout series.
Okay.
And Seasons of Fidelity. Ray Lease book, Saving Sunflower. The Ethics series. Fly Girl. Love Allure by Jay Brene. Love Belvin's series.
Ezra.
No.
Really?
You know what, my nigga, Asmir.
Oh. The Love's Improbable Possibilities.
Yeah, that. Yeah, that. Yeah, I would say that.
Okay. Top 48. Shout out to the R&B Money Podcast. Okay, so those are going to be your top books. Let me ask you, what do you think current authors are missing as a veteran in this game? What are we missing?
Much. They're missing.
Not so much.
They're missing depth. They're very surface level. Character development. Creativity. Thinking outside the box, trying different things. And it's become custom with this generation of writers with, like, I want to say over the last 10 years to that they don't even know the formula of being an author, because a lot of these authors have signed to these little mom and pop publishers that don't know what the hell they doing or talking about, and have signed these people to 12 contract books and made them think that they have to drop a book every 2 weeks. That's not a writer. Like, it cracks me up when I see authors online saying, I've read my 75th book. What the fuck? What? Like, that's not a flex.
Yeah.
It's quality over quantity. Like, and I want to say to a lot of these girls and guys or whatever, you've written all of these books. Do you have a book that's going to stand the test of time 20 years later that people are still going to talk about? Do you even have a book, one of them, that is like, that's that? No, a lot of them don't. Yeah. I've been blessed that I have books that people will be like, 20 years later, people still talking about Torn and Me and My Boyfriend and China Black and Mina's Joint and all of these different books. This generation of authors don't have that. And it's because they haven't been taught the importance of storytelling. You know what I'm saying? They just want to write something and put it out there. And a lot of people don't want to learn nor do the work.
Yeah. Facts. So speaking of writing, and we're wrapping up these author questions because we have so much more with your life. What made you stop writing? The people want to know. The people been asking. People say, when you coming back?
This meeting is over.
They want to know. Now let me tell y'all this. Y'all as readers, can y'all please, when she come back, if and when she does, because y'all act like humans when we're reading these books? Because I think sometimes and I was thinking about making a shirt about this. The definition of a reader has now become gangster with glasses. Y'all bullying these authors, not me, because I'm not gonna let y'all bully me, but y'all bullying these authors. And if it's not exactly what you want, you're spamming the review section. It's different from you read it, you ain't like it, you're saying I did not like it. That's one thing. You don't have to like everything. Everything's not for everybody. But baby, I have seen y'all with a book just because you ain't like the concept. You're not even, I'm not even finished. I just hate it. Jesus, can they please express their creativity? So I just want to say that because we have had moments concerning Keisha and books and the people. And I just want to say, just be a human when she come back, if and when she come back. So what made you stop writing, and when the heck are you writing again?
What made me stop writing is that I was literally physically and mentally tired. I remember telling you at that time, it was 2019 was the last time I wrote a book. When in 2019? 2019, 2020?
Oh no.
2020. 2020. Okay. Yeah, because I got diagnosed. Yeah, so it was 2021. Yeah, 2021 was when Dream 2 came out. But by that time, it was around 2019. But at that time, I just started feeling like my head was going to literally explode. Like I couldn't think anymore. I couldn't come up with any more ideas. Like my brain literally just felt tight. Like I was tired of thinking. Like I was so tired. And I knew I was going to take a break. And it was like a year or two. Yeah, it was a year in between Dream and Dream 2 because Your Mind came out in between. So I did Your Mind, which is I wrote 2 over 100,000 word books, dropped them on the same day. Nobody has done it since then. And
it won't be me. Go ahead.
It was such a big feat, and it was such a creative process that between that and then Dream 2 was like another year in between. And when I did Dream 2, mind you, I had started doing book boxes at that time. So I'd taken that on with the book on top of doing YouTube. And I was just doing so much. And I put my heart and soul into Dream 2, and which is called It Was All a Dream. And that was the first book where I ever was nervous, like truly nervous and scared. Because with Dream, I never expected Dream to do what it did. Like I knew that the book was good, and that's a testament to No, because like even with Torn, I knew that Torn was good, but I never expected it to be what it is.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Dream. Like it was just this unexpected explosion. It's like it was like, what? Like I knew it was a great book and I had did something different and I had challenged myself to go really gory and gritty and really take it.
I can't. Keisha be like, listen to this friend and read me a chapter. I'd be like, bruh, I can't deal with all this.
I really wanted to show with the Dream series that me as a woman, female writer, that I could write just as good as any man. Because you don't really see women writing stories like how I wrote with Dream, with all of the very detailed killings and things of that nature. And I really wanted to take it there. And when I see, this is the thing about storytelling. When I write a book, I'm just not writing. I'm doing research. I'm looking up things. Like I'm really make this a whole world. Sheridan knows I have photographs, outfits, homes, furniture. Like I really create a whole world for these characters that consume me. So I had put so much work into Dream to make sure. It was all of a dream. So I put so much work into It Was All a Dream because I really needed to make sure that it lived up to Dream because the expectation was so high.
Yeah.
And the book came out in July, I want to say, of 2021. And that day, I dropped it that morning. I remember being on the phone with you and Sheridan that day. And the reviews came in, and their first 2 reviews were so negative, and they gave me a 1 star. And Sheridan will tell you, I cried that whole day.
Yeah.
Even after all the other reviews is coming in and everybody's praising the book, I was so emotional that day. I cried so hard because of those 2 reviews. And I was so hurt and pissed because I was like, do y'all know the work that was just put into this for you to sit up there and write that bullshit? Like, okay, this was bad. It was like some bullshit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm done with this shit. Like, I literally was like, I'm tired. I'm done. You will write a book, people consume it in a few hours, and then they're literally, where the next one? What the fuck? Like, I'm not a machine. Like, they literally do that to you. And
yeah,
I'm
they
like,
do.
are you fucking kidding me? I don't think that readers know. Well, I don't think that readers know, and certain authors that don't know the work when you're a good writer that is put into writing a book, especially when you you care.
A real novel.
Yeah. And I'm like, I just got tired. I literally just got tired of the what the fuck?
Insensitivity.
Yeah, I couldn't say it. That and I was tired. I was tired and I just cried that whole day.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck this. Like I was over it. I literally was over. I had just gotten the book boxes out of my house. The book came out. It did well financially, critically, and all of that stuff. But that was like the last kick in the stomach for me. And then literally a few weeks later, I found a lump in my breast and found out I had breast cancer. And so that, on top of everything, changed the trajectory of my life, period.
Yeah.
I'm not in that space mentally.
But I was along with you in that first trip, remembering where you used my laptop to record your reaction video to finding out that you were diagnosed with breast cancer.
So when they laid me on my side and they're doing the ultrasound, I had a clear view right there of the ultrasound. If I was a spiteful person or whatever with the things that my mother is going through now, I would have done the same thing to her.
Do you resent your mom?
It was the best interview ever, even though you made me cry.
Okay.